Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time for a little tradition that we do, is predicting the Metacritic scores of the Fall Festival movies before they happen. We like guessing games. The Oscars is just a guessing game, so. I want to quickly let you all know that I just started a Patreon. And on Wednesday, which might even be after this is uploaded, there'll be a live stream Q&A. If you're interested, you should patronize me. We're doing live stream Q&As every month. They're gonna sit up there even when they're done. Even when I'm done Q&Aing, they're gonna be up there. You can ask questions even if you can't attend the live stream, and I'll answer them. And also gonna do monthly movie reviews. I'm gonna ask people to say what they want, and then I'm gonna poll you. So that's what's going on there, and you can find that into the description if you want to also support the channel. Let's just start out with The Whale. You know, honestly, I feel like I want to see this one the most. Like, Aronofsky never fails, at least in my opinion. Like, everything he puts out is an absolute banger. Noah's the worst. We all know that, but his movies don't usually get like 90s on Metacritic. Even something like Black Swan, which is considered his best movie by a lot of people, or even The Wrestler, you know, that was like, 82? Noah had a 68. Which, given how people in general reacted to that, is like pretty good. The critics watched it as an Aronofsky movie and the public didn't. I want to say it's going to be more agreeable like The Wrestler, but can it possibly be that agreeable as an Aronofsky movie? Like, I don't know. The harder ones to predict are the ones that I think could get like a wide range of reactions. Like, if there are a bunch of 100s for The Whale and there are a bunch of like below 60s for The Whale, then it could end up below an 80, even though like the praise for it is generally very good. Kind of like how Dune, you know, that came out and that got like great reviews by anyone's standards. But if you really look, Dune has a 74 on Metacritic. But if you look closer, that movie has a lot of like 100s on Metacritic. And then a lot of people are just like kind of underwhelmed at the same time. The Whale is a film where I think that could happen to it. This film's not going to be as weird as Mother. Mother has a 75 on Metacritic. That's very good. It's not going to, I feel like it can't be lower than that. No. I'm going to say, I think an 81 actually, which is pretty high. But yeah. I feel like people will like generally really like it. I mean, we think it's going to win Best Actor, so it has to be somewhat agreeable, I guess. I don't like the number. Like, the number doesn't feel like the right number, but I had 80. Also, when you premiere at Venice, you get a lot of guaranteed 100s. You get like 4 guaranteed 100s, yeah. Which also happened to Mother. But then it'll probably go down. Like, this could start out really high, and then it could go down. Tar is also one where I think it could get like a vast distribution of scores, but I think it's going to lean towards like critics are going to love it. Yeah, I think this could be one of the critic darlings of the festival. They're really anticipating Todd Field's return. Pretty much guaranteed to have an amazing Cate Blanchett performance and like some great music. I would go with like an 84 on this. For a second I had 90, and then I was like, well, what if not everybody loves it? Like, even if a lot of people do love it, and then there are those people who are just like, don't get it, that'll bring the score down. We're gonna stay in the 80s for it. We're gonna say this is gonna be like a critic darling. Actually, what if it's like Spencer, where it starts out and we're like, look, it got an 85, told you, and then slowly people are like, where did that end up? Didn't they get like an 83? This is 76 now. Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. Actually, I think Tar's gonna get a 77. I've changed my mind. Really? I think enough people will be mixed. But I'm just gonna stay with my number. I'm gonna say 85. I think that's pretty high, but... Alright, The Sun. There's a new description about this movie that is related to it being on TIFF schedule now. You know, Anthony Hopkins is a new character who's playing Hugh Jackman's father, and they were trying to sell the movie as being like uniquely wholly cinematic. So it sounds like Florian Zeller, and you know, we hope this would happen, really took a cinematic approach and isn't just filming his play. And he's changing the story a little bit because he has ideas about how to change it in a different way. Like, I think that is a good sign. Yeah, I mean, I think the article mostly said he's going to be thinking a lot about point of view in this directorial exercise, which is not something that you can do in the same way on the stage. But like, that was kind of what the father did. Yeah, and if he's good at that, then he should keep doing it. So it's kind of like a subtle technique, a subtle way to exercise his vision behind the camera. I'm really excited for The Sun. I'm gonna go high on this one because The Father got an 88 on Metacritic. I don't know if it's gonna be as good as The Father, but I also have a hard time seeing how this could go wrong. And I'm gonna go with a 90. I'm going with an 83 because I don't think it's gonna get the same level of praise as The Father. I think that people will like it a lot. It's gonna be like a devastating, look at mental illness and shit like that. Like it's gonna and family dynamics and stuff. We're gonna eat it up. If he hit a 90 after The Father, that would be like,
yeah,
he's just.
I think he's gonna be like on a roll. Like I think it's gonna keep going.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna say an 89. I'm gonna go down just 1 point.
Wow. The Fabelmans. Spielberg's been on a pretty hot streak lately. I mean, The Post has over an 80. I think Bridge of Spies has an 81. Warhorse has in the 70s. Yeah. West Side Story got an 85. Lincoln has an 86. I don't think that The Fabelmans is going to be the kind of movie where people are saying, oh my god, it's literally one of Spielberg's best movies. They're just going to generally agree, like, Spielberg made a very good movie again. I don't think it's going to be very mixed. I don't think it's going to have, like, ratings that are weighing it down. Belfast has a 75. So, you go up from there, which you do. You just do go up from there.
Better score than Belfast.
And I think you could go 84.
I was going to say 84 as well.
Wow. And we didn't.
So that means we're going to be exactly right, I think.
Women Talking. Initially, I thought that this was going to be the Nomadland, Power of the Dog, Roma type contender, where the critics go ape shit for it at all the festivals. But in hearing a couple little peeps about the movie, it seems that maybe it's not the kind of thing that everyone gives 10 out of 10 to. However, it may be more agreeable than we were anticipating.
Yeah, so a lot of people might fall in like the mid-range. So it's a lot of like 6, 7, 8. Maybe a little tiny chunk of 9.
Tiny. I think
maybe
it
a
could be
little
bigger
chunk
than
of
that.
Okay, a significant chunk of 9. But like, I think a lot of 7 and 8s are coming from this movie. Kind of like a One Night in Miami.
And what did that have on Metacritic? Do you know?
I got an 81.
It has an 83. Now,
it's an 83?
Look, I think that even if this movie is like 3.7, 3.6, or 3.8 on Letterboxd, the critics will be giving it higher ratings. I think they will like it a little bit more.
Yeah, because it's going to be a hard movie to say it's bad.
I have a hard time imagining how critics aren't like, this is brilliant. Say 85.
Really? That's fair to go a little bit too high. I'm going to go with 82. I think people are going to think it's like important and a discussion starter, and the critics are going to eat it up for that.
Bardo, New Inarritu, apparently a comedy along the lines of, the kind of comedy that Birdman was. Very, very ambitious, almost 3 hours long. What do we think about this?
Well, everyone's going to be thinking these guys are just going really high, but we're also just doing the films that we're most anticipating first. So you just wait. Bardo, I think, will definitely get great reviews. I think critics will eat it up. I'm going to go with an 89 on this. Also because I think that it will appeal to critics as well. Like, it'll be pure cinema. In a similar way to Roma, but let's assume it's like a little bit more divisive than Roma.
I'm going to go with an 88 for Bardo.
Very conservative of you.
Empire of Light.
I think my opinion here is influenced by a couple of reactions that I have heard of through the grapevine. People saying that, they think it could be a contender in several categories, but that it's not like the best movie overall. It has problems. And to me, that sounds like, a News of the World kind of thing. Or a Nightmare Alley. Like something that's kind of on the fringe, could get nominated, is definitely Oscar bait. We'll definitely get some nominations. I think some people might be like, yeah, that's total Oscar bait. Totally worked for me in an Oscar-y way. I had a 68 here. As a movie that could have problems, but could still be nominated for Best Picture.
I got a 71. It's pretty much in the ballpark.
What did Nightmare Alley have?
Like a 68.
Exactly. Glass Onion. I think this will be as good as the first.
And the first has an 82.
And I'm predicting an 82.
I was predicting an 82 as well.
I didn't know that the first had an 82.
I thought the first had an 83. They seem very confident. I mean, this movie's screening at TIFF like a million times. They're trying to
win the audience award.
Trying to place in the audience award, I think. It could get better reviews, maybe. But
I think so.
I think as a sequel, you're going to have people who are like, someone's going to say it doesn't capture the something of the original. It doesn't matter. Blonde.
Very interesting.
People who don't expect divisiveness, like, I'm sorry, like, it's going to be very divisive.
Someone's going to go to 10.
Oh, at Venice, when it comes out at Venice, there will be 3 100s waiting for it.
Oh,
and then it will slowly float down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I forgot that the Venice is going to benefit this movie. It's going to have it's going to get all the 100s that it ever gets are going to be right at the start of Venice. And then no one beyond that is going to agree with the hype that came out of Venice.
It's going to have some in the red.
But I have to keep it not too low because because of that first little wave of 100. The first little wave of hype is important. Like, it could start out in like the high 70s, I think.
I think Letterboxd is going to be somewhere between like a 3.1 and a 3.3, and it's going to be like a thick, like wide stack of ratings, like everywhere.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not going to like the movie either. Like, it'll be an admirable movie in some ways, but I'm saying a 50 on this movie.
That's really low.
Why is it really low?
A 50?
Why is it really low?
It's not even a 60.
Joker had a 60.
Yeah, I guess.
Joker had like a 58.
Yeah, but that's because people were trying to like weigh in on the
Joker.
cultural debate around Joker.
That's true.
That's
literally the same. That's literally the same.
Yeah, and what did Joker start out with at Venice? I love this
90,
fact. And then it floated down to literally in the yellow. Like, my God,
I think Blonde will start off with like an 80, and people will be like, "Whoa, the movie's really good." Ana de Armas has Oscar hype. And especially once it drops on Netflix, it's going to go way down, way down.
It's like a 2 hour, like 40 minute movie.
Yeah, like some people are going to fucking hate it.
I was in like the 60s.
I was even lower, and then you reminded me that it's going to get 300s. I was 47. And I could see it getting a rotten on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think it will get maybe like a 60 or a 70 on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to go with a 59, actually. I was going to predict
that's
67.
Not a chance.
There are a lot of people who are ready to call Andrew Dominique's like brilliant masterpiece. I'm just saying.
I know, and that's why I'll get a 50 and not a 38.
All right, Bones and All. This is going to be a fun one.
That's interesting.
This is about.
I think it looks great.
I think it's like a romance. No, the teaser looks really good. Like, just 30 seconds. Don't give me any more. The acting is going to be great. I'm very curious what Mark Rylance is doing. He looks like he is going to rip everybody's face off. Gore. It's about cannibal lovers. I'm getting like Let the Right One In vibes, where it's like actually surprisingly sweet, despite it having like horror elements. Guadagnino. I mean, what did Suspiria get?
64.
That's really low. I mean, I didn't really like Suspiria, but I thought the critics liked it more than that. I'm going to say a 74 for Bones and All. I think it's going to be like a healthy amount of mixed.
This is a tough one because I feel like it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think so.
But then again, like he did go and he did make Suspiria, and people were like really polarized by that. He's definitely willing to isolate people in the pursuit of his art, in the pursuit of his craft.
Letterboxd will like it, I think, more.
Yeah, I had a 76 for this one.
All right, White Noise. This is another one that is going to be very strange. People say the novel is like unadaptable, and they can't even imagine like what what you would do with that.
I'm thinking of Ending Things as a reference for this.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of Ending Things has a 78 on Metacritic, which is actually very good.
That is good.
That's a really good score for a movie that not everybody agreed on. I would go somewhere around there for White Noise as well. I could see this being a very good movie. Maybe I will say that it gets a 78.
I think it'll have low audience scores, though.
I think some people will love it, and then other people will be a little bit lost.
It's going to be very strange, I think. I don't know what's happening, and I don't know why it cost over $100 million to make. I mean, at the very least, like, Adam Driver is going to be great in it. I don't know. I'm going with a 73. All right, She Said. Controversial subject matter. When the trailer dropped, people started going, Brad Pitt produced this, and he was complicit in like X thing and Y thing, and then Angelina Jolie and what. There's so many things that people will like attribute and being like what this movie represents, and like Hollywood trying to absolve itself or whatever. I wonder how many people will just say, okay, sure, like that may all be true, but you also have like filmmakers who care about the work that they're doing, and like actors who are just trying to make like a good honest movie.
I think that's like pretty dumb.
It's also just based on a memoir of like a thing that happened, so I think it's going to be faithful to that memoir and to the stories. But the trailer ultimately looks like, I think it looks all right. I think it looks like it'll do a decent amount of justice to the story, but I don't know if it's going to get people saying it's beyond that. So I'm going to go with a 69 on it.
I also had 69 as my number for this.
I thought of going with 70 because I didn't want it to be like 69, but then I was like, but I really believe in the number 69 on it.
No, I just believe in the number. It's not a joke.
Bros
going to TIFF is a good sign that they believe in its ability to rile up a crowd.
Well, we know that it's done that. We know that it has already riled up crowds.
And I think some people are like, and people are saying it could go for like a screenplay at the Oscars if it becomes like a hit comedy. And it is, a first of its kind, being like a super gay studio movie. There's only been a handful of studio films with gay protagonists, but I don't think any of them have been as emphatically gay as this one. And it looks really fun. Looks like I might be slapping my armrest and jumping up and down in this one.
It's also hard as a comedy, though, I think, to get like a really, really high score. Like, because what if just some people are like not, on the wavelength? I mean, I think it'll screen really well at TIFF. What if that's separate? Like, you go to the room and everyone's having a great time, and then the reviews come out and you're like, what? I remember that happened with Don't Look Up, where when I was in the room, I was like, everybody's laughing and having a great time. And then when the embargo dropped, I was like,
I don't know.
Under a 60?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but for Don't Look Up, people were like ready to dunk. I think Bros is going to be harder to dunk on because people don't want to like bring down the movie that's trying to do something different.
I was thinking about going 80, but maybe I'll go to like a 76 on it.
I'm going for a 79, which would make it a very highly rated comedy.
All right, Don't Worry, Darling. I think this one's going to get mixed reviews. I'm thinking of Last Night in Soho a little bit.
I'm really impressed with the visual storytelling from the trailer. It actually reminds me of Jordan Peele's films in a way, where there's just a lot of images that are just very like immediately captivating, and I think the cinematography looks really great and unique. But I also think there are some shots in here like her being like crushed in like the glass, which I can't tell if that's like really in the movie or if it's like a dream figurative sequence, but either way it feels heavy-handed.
It feels a little film student-y when it's like the reverse water bubbles going in her mouth or something. I mean, that could be a trailer edit too, we don't know. But even just having somebody underwater is like kind of film student. We know the message of the movie from the trailer. Like, it's a takedown of the patriarchy and how men are like trying to gaslight women into thinking that like this is the system and what are you talking about? There's nothing like, I don't know. Is it too obvious? Is it too heavy-handed? At first I thought, well, mixed reviews, maybe I can go in the 60s. But honestly, no. I think maybe I'm going to drop that down to a 57.
Oh, I don't think it will get... Oh, I disagree with you here. I don't think it'll get, like, bad reviews. I think it'll get very good reviews.
Very good.
But I think some people will be like, oh, I don't know if it was as good as, like, some people have said. Like, kind of Midsummer reviews.
That would be good.
Yeah, it would be very good. That's what I'm saying.
So you do think it's going to be good?
Yes. Like, it looks solid. I don't know who would hate it. I could see people being kind of, like, in the middle. Booksmart got really good reviews, and that was a very promising debut.
It's also a very different kind of movie.
I'm saying a 74 on this one.
Well, that's pretty different from mine. We'll see who's right, and whoever's right has to bake the other person a cake and then eat that cake that they baked for the other person. Till. I was going to say, I feel like a lot of these movies have like somewhat controversial things around them, but that's just because everything's controversial when you look to Twitter for discourse.
Yeah, you just go on Twitter a lot.
Till, though, I think, we've mentioned before, like, we'll have that problem a little bit.
I already have like a very strong idea of what I think the reaction to this movie is going to be. I've been wrong many times before, but here's how it plays out in my head. People are seeing the movie and they're like, guys, it's not like that bad. It was a good movie. And then people are like, no. Fuck you. This movie was extremely like trauma porn. And people are going to like be trying to save it and saying it's not bad. And then, well, it was very good. Like maybe it's not the best thing, but there's going to be like people trying to rip it down, and they may have good reason to do so. It's not my place to say. I'm going with a 61 here, which isn't bad. It's not bad. That's like pretty decent. But I don't think the film looks that good. With the director behind it, maybe it could surprise people and be like surprisingly tasteful. But like where the starting point, like where you're starting from and what you're trying to do is very difficult.
I don't see it as the kind of movie that people are going to be going, oh my god, this is like amazing. The trailer also just doesn't look like it's the most like new thing, I'm going 64. Okay, greatest beer run ever. I think people will go, hey, it's a bunch of dudes having fun. I think people will actually do that.
Well, I think some people are going in and they're ready to dunk on it because Green Book won Best Picture.
That's true.
Like people are already like, oh my god, like these people making another movie. It's like pro-military probably. I'm just gonna like shut my brain off when I watch it, and I'll think about how it's promoting like weird shit later.
I don't think it's gonna be promoting weird. I honestly think the movie will be pretty innocent.
I think people are gonna criticize its perspective. It's like about an American soldier who goes to Vietnam and then like learns something.
You're right, because there's that shot of like the little Vietnamese girl, and he's gonna be like, oh, the war really isn't so fun.
But I'm gonna admit that like in the moment, that moment will probably work for me. I think a lot of people don't want to have fun with this movie though. They just don't want to. I think the trailer looks solid. I was reminded that like despite their shortcomings in like really diving deep into their subject matter to avoid making stories that are potentially harmful, the writing in Green Book was witty and fun, and it was funny. Like it had like good jokes and shit. And this movie has all that too, I thought. Like it has moments that seemed charming, seemed funny. I think that's like a 65.
I was gonna say 67, but now I'm thinking like people are gonna like actually really try to dunk on it, and so I'm gonna go with a 60. Like I think there are some critics who I just know are not gonna give this movie like any slack. The Good Nurse. It's got, Academy Award winner Eddie Redmayne and Jessica Chastain. It's about a serial killer doctor. We don't have a trailer or anything. The director wrote Another Round in the Hunt, directed Hijacking and A War, which are both like very acclaimed movies.
Yeah, like a very tasteful filmmaker. It seems. I have no reason to think that this film won't be like really well acted and very tasteful. Maybe like a taut thriller. Maybe a good character study.
It's gonna be like a good true crime movie. Yeah. And Netflix has, I don't think they have awards ambitions necessarily, but I think that the director will give it a little bit of grit that it needs to not just feel like...
Yeah, I think it'd be a good movie.
I think I'm going to go with a 70 on it.
I'm going to go with a 75.
That's really high.
It's not, yeah, I think it could get like good, solid reviews, yeah.
All right, go predict Eddie Redmayne for Best Actor, why don't you?
I mean, okay, fine, we'll go with 74. That's what I had originally.
I didn't do anything. Okay.
I got slightly uncomfortable when I made the 4 or 5, so I'll just go back because then you made me even more uncomfortable.
Chevalier. This is a biopic about a French composer in the 1700s, played by Kelvin Harrison Jr. And I'm looking at this like this year's Cyrano. Actor buzz, costume buzz, maybe a little bit. But overall, the hype around this movie is kind of low. I'm going to go with a 66. I don't think it'll be bad or anything. Maybe it won't blow people away.
Yeah, that's what I have. I also have a 66.
I copied Cyrano because Cyrano has that.
Oh.
The Woman King.
I think it's the kind of movie that could get acclaim, but then like not really go anywhere. Like not do that well at the box office.
It's going to be very well made, well shot, well acted. And when you have that, I think you at least get a good movie. I'm going with a 69.
I guess I went high on this one. I'm going with 74. I think it could be
good.
the kind of movie where people are like, I would love to see The Woman King get more attention, but it's just not.
I mean, The Last Duel didn't even cross a 70. Banshees of Inisherin.
The trailer, I will say, the trailer got me like hype on this movie. I'm really liking the aroma of all these ingredients together in this stew. Like, it just looks like a really good dark comedy with like some really like heavy flavor of its time and place. And the performances seem great.
Here's the thing about this movie. I feel like it gets over a 90 on Rotten Tomatoes because it looks like, why wouldn't you like it? Why wouldn't you enjoy it?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think people are going to weigh it down too much. So in my mind, that puts it above an 80.
It's going to be undeniably well written and well acted.
And go with an 82.
That's what I said. I think it could go higher, maybe.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting if it did. Then I would think,
You remember The Lost Daughter got like an 88? And that didn't even go in. I mean, it didn't really get...
Yeah, sometimes movies get really high critic scores and the critics are eating it up. Yeah, I mean, like, this could get an 87 and still not get Best Picture,
Yeah, that's what
Could get an 87. Could get an 87.
Gwendolyn Wild. This is the director of Coraline. It's a stop-motion animated film. It's got a great voice cast, which features Key and Peele. I think this is going to be pretty solid, pretty fun. I'm going to go with a 79 on it.
Yeah, I don't see how it gets, like, below a 75 in a weird way. I'll go with a 79 also.
All right, Master Gardener, the new Paul Schrader movie. We know very, very little about this.
But since Paul Schrader's last film, The Card Counter, surprised us so much by getting an 83 on Metacritic, when we were ready to say, he's probably, I don't know what he's doing here. I just don't know what he's doing. I'm optimistic here. We have an image of Sigourney Weaver and Joel Edgerton. But just by their look in the film, they're going to be really good. People are going to be praising them.
Those are good leads. I want to see them together. That's a good idea. And especially if it has like that political touch that... First Reformed and The Card Counter had. I think that can keep it pretty high. Card Counter has an 83 on Metacritic.
That's pretty interesting.
I mean,
like, do you even go below an 83? Is that the base? Do you start at 83 and then climb your way up?
Paul Schrader's gets very mixed reactions across his movies. Like sometimes
but
critics
this is
hate
like
them.
the new Paul Schrader.
Is he really going to be like just keep hitting now? Like now that First Reformed happened, he's just going to keep hitting.
He has Sigourney Weaver in this movie. The concept is interesting. In this image, you see Joel Edgerton, who is clearly like
he looks more
working class, and then you have the wealthy dowager. So I mean, pretty obviously like a class commentary. What if this gets some good ass reviews? What if it does?
I go 78.
In a weird way, I can't debunk myself and say like, oh, we don't start at the card counter and go up. I might go with 85. Is that fucked up? Is that fucked?
I mean, it could happen.
That's weird. Maybe we should go with the 86.
That'd be a little.
What if I did
you'd
that?
be a little crazy,
what if I
man.
did that?
Because First Reformed doesn't even have an 86.
All right, what does First Reformed have?
An 85.
We should call it an 84 then. Go right in the middle.
The Menu, Ray Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, good cast. Apparently, very well written script. Looks like a juicy, dark comedy. Looks kind of fun. I think this will take the audience on like a good ride. You know, keep you guessing and then keep you shocked at times. I think it's going to be really solid. I don't think people are going to be screaming their heads off about it, but I think it will get, you know, a very, very nice round of applause. That puts it at a 74.
I was going to say 75.
The Wonder. This is Sebastian Lelio, who's a pretty acclaimed director. I mean, I guess not everything he does gets like an 80 on Metacritic, but he did direct A Fantastic Woman. This is Florence Pugh. Ari Wegner is shooting it, who did Power of the Dog.
This is an interesting one where I think it could actually get like an 87. And that wouldn't mean like, oh, it goes to the Oscars. It just means the critics love it.
Drama, mystery, thriller. Psychological thriller.
I mean, it's kind of critic food. Let's put it that way. It's critic food. We'll go with an 83 here.
We'll go with an 81. Causeway with Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry, who are probably going to give very good performances, sinking their teeth deep into these, you know, emotionally ripe roles. This filmmaker hasn't really done anything, I think, outside of the stage. So, you know, she's working with like Jennifer Lawrence on her first movie.
A24.
Yeah, A24 is on it, but it definitely doesn't seem like it's one of their priorities this year.
It's been in production for a long time. There's just not really like word making its way around the industry that this is like a great movie, apparently.
But how bad can you be when you have Jennifer Lawrence giving a very good performance in like a tender drama about a war veteran? Like, where I don't see where you go so wrong.
Oh, here's where you go wrong, buddy. It sounds a little melodramatic.
Yeah.
It's about her brain injury and like PTSD. I don't know. I think it could be okay.
I mean, I have a 68. Jane Howdyshell's in it. I like that. Good sad drama. That seems like it's for me.
We'll go with a 65.
All Quiet on the Western Front. This is a German language movie that Netflix has. Apparently, like, I think I heard it was like one of the highest budget movies that Germany's ever made. War movie. So that, I think, you know, makes it a little bit critic bait. Looks like they've got some desaturation type thing going on with the cinematography. I think this looks like a solid international feature contender. They always nominate war films in this category. What's that movie, Land of Mine? Like, sure, like it's a war movie. It has a 75. You want to copy that?
I might copy that.
I'll go with a 76 on it. All right, The Eternal Daughter. This is Joanna Hogg's new movie after she did The Souvenir Parts 1 and 2, which I think put her on the map in an even bigger way than she was before.
Yeah, this is one of my most anticipated of the entire fest.
This looks fucking awesome. Like, the plot description, like, Tilda Swinton is, it's like about ghosts, and like Tilda Swinton's playing like herself and her mom. Like, fucking feed this to me right now. The critics are gonna eat this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 90, I think.
Really? You think it's gonna be like as good as The Souvenir?
Yes. Yeah, why not? And I mean, The Souvenir was a divisive movie that still got a 90. And The Souvenir Part 2 was it was more agreeable.
I think you're right. I think this goes high. I'll go with an 87.
It's not that hard for the movie to get in the 90s. It's not that hard.
It's hard for any movie
because it's going to be like critics.
The Souvenir was also about someone who holds a camera and uses it to like be fulfilled. So critics can relate to that. My Policeman. This movie has hype because Harry Styles is in it. And it's about a gay policeman, and Harry Styles playing the gay policeman. How are people going to feel about that? I don't think everyone's going to be on this movie's side, to be honest. The director, there's no reason to believe this is going to be a masterpiece.
It looks kind of redundant. Like, how many movies have we seen with someone just being like, I don't fit into society because my sexuality, And they're like having affairs and, you know, they can't let anybody know or else they get kicked out of their police academy or whatever. It was really just a showcase for Harry Styles to see like what he's got. And I'm sure he will live up to expectations. I feel like that's just going to happen. But the movie itself, I don't think people are going to say too much for it.
I think it'll get a 54. I mean, Michael Grandage, the director's last movie, got a 56, and that had Colin Farrell in it. That movie had Nicole Kidman, Jude Law, and Laura Linney in it.
Yeah, I'll go with a 58.
All right, Hallelujah. This is the newest film from Richard Eyre. Richard Eyre did Iris and Notes on a Scandal, which were both movies that got Oscar nominations.
From years ago, like a decade ago.
From years ago. They didn't surpass 80 on Metacritic. Recently, he did a TV movie called The Children Act, which had a 62. Has been working a lot in TV lately. There's a movie called The Other Man that he did, which is a 34. But this one looks like an old people charmer that celebrates healthcare workers. So people will say, hey, this is relevant to COVID and celebrating healthcare workers. Like they might say that even though it doesn't have to do with COVID. British, like it's just going to be a charming movie. I don't think people are going to have a problem with it. I don't think it's going to blow people away. That puts it at 68 for me.
Yeah, I'll just match you on that. I'll go with a 68.
All right, The Lost King. This is the newest film from Stephen Frears. He did Philomena. Then he did The Program, which had a 53. Florence Foster Jenkins, 71. Victoria and Abdul, 58. And then we have this, which has Sally Hawkins. It's kind of like a mystery sort of thing.
Sally Hawkins looks really good in it, though. My impression from the trailer is that I'm watching this movie and I'm liking it, and then it just sort of runs out of steam by the end. And I'm like, okay, it was at an 8 and now it's at like a 6. So I'm going to go with a 61 here.
I'll go with a 63. Devotion is a movie that I think is unfortunately timed with Top Gun Maverick. It literally has one of the same actors in it. It's about people in jets flying around. It's supposed to make you think that the planes are cool. Yeah, I think this will get a 50.
I'm going to 54.
The Inspection. Now this movie kind of hopped into my radar last minute. A24, put this into TIFF, and they also have this at the closing night slot at New York Film Festival, and it's about a black man who joins the military, and he's like gay, and this is hard for him. And you think, in some way, like, it's kind of Oscar-y. I've heard maybe it's like an okay movie, not the best.
I mean, if you look at the poster, it kind of makes you think. It seems melodramatic and like okay, like it might work on me. I think a lot of the critics are gonna be like, I see through this a little bit. I don't know, I think people will be like, oh, it's well intentioned, like they're not gonna hate it.
I feel like I'm putting too many movies in this range, but I'm going with a 65.
I said 55.
I feel like it'd be a weird for it to be like actually just not really that good when it's the closing slot at New York Film Festival. A Jazzman's Blues, the new Tyler Perry movie. Now is this like a change of course for him, and he's not really doing a comedy with this one, but looks a little sappy. No one's gonna say like we need this movie. Critics are probably not really on his side, although I think they are willing to give him another shot. I think this is gonna get a 49.
On paper, I was like, okay, this looks okay. I think it might get like a 47. And then I watched the trailer, and I thought, this is like misguided at worst. Like this could be like pretty bad. This could be kind of a disaster, actually. I'm gonna go with 38.
Butcher's Crossing. Most people weren't really paying attention to this until TIFF announced it. It's based on a novel. Nicolas Cage is in it. He's doing some buffalo like hunting. IMDb thinks it's a TV series. I'm pretty sure it's a movie. The cinematography looks very Power of the Dog. The director, though, did a documentary called Red Army, which I remember got some Oscar buzz and has a good Metacritic score. This is his first narrative feature. The cinematographer did Embrace of the Serpent and Birds of Passage. Oh, and War Pony. Okay, so they have a good cinematographer.
I'd be willing to say it gets good reviews. I mean, if you feed the people a good Nicolas Cage performance, they will like it.
The novel people like, too. Dismantles the myths of modern America. Oof. Ooh, the critics are going to like it, I think, maybe.
For that alone, I think I'm going to move my rating up to 78.
That would be very good. That'd be like, hey, this is one of the surprises of the festival.
Yeah, it'd be like Pig. There's no real distributor, though. I think it might be even trying to get picked up.
At best, like, this could be like, whoa, it's actually really good. But I feel like it would have had more buzz going into the festival if that was the case. I feel like this is a cop-out, like, I'm fence-sitting, because it could go, one way or the other, but I'm going to go with a 76. All right, now the Weird Al movie. A lot of people are really excited about this. Daniel Radcliffe playing Weird Al is very funny on paper. I feel like the movie could be tiresome and maybe not like that funny. I mean, it's a Funny or Die produced movie, so I also wonder like how much it'll feel like an actual movie and not like an extended like web skit. Is Daniel Radcliffe just having fun, or is he embodying Weird Al? Maybe all he needs to do is have fun. But I feel like
I think it's a movie that just wants you to have fun with it. That's kind of it. And I do agree that makes for a maybe tiring like 90 minutes.
I'm gonna go with the 60 because I think that a lot of people will just say, hey, I have my fun with it.
Yeah, I'll go with like a 56 because I agree with what you said, but I think those kinds of movies can get 56s sometimes.
And those are our Metacritic predictions for the fall festivals. We'll see you at TIFF. Venice is coming up, I think, starting on the 31st. And like the next week is going to be just full of like movies premiering and all that shit. And then Telluride's going to overlap with that a little bit. TIFF starts on the 8th. We're going to be there till the 16th. And we're going to give you all the reviews. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Will the critics like you when you show them who you are?